This all began back in October, when I came home early from work and found my husband, shirtless in our bed, video chatting a much younger female coworker. The conversation I overheard wasn't sexual, yet. When I let him know that I felt that was unacceptable, he said, "She was just letting me know our checks bounced again. She's never video chatted me before, and I had just woken up and wasn't thinking when I answered it." I got upset and told him I was going to leave the house for a few hours to process, so I wouldn't speak from anger and could collect my thoughts. I returned that evening and found him crying on our couch, saying how scared he was that I was going to leave him. It was a stupid mistake, and he had called her to let her know they wouldn't be friends anymore. He went further to tell me that he had deleted her contact info because they weren't working out of the same location anymore and would have no reason to be communicating further. His explanation didn't settle well with me, so I looked into our phone logs, and he never made that phone call to her. When I questioned him about it, he got angry and told me the reality was he had wanted to leave me for years, wasn't in love with me, and she had helped him to realize that he was in an emotionally abusive relationship like she was at the time, apparently. This floored me. Everyone, including me, his family, and even him, always said we were such a happy couple, perfect for each other, etc. But now he was saying I've emotionally abused him to the point where he felt our home was a prison, and he felt small because of me. He said he had to confide in her about our relationship because I would have been furious if he shared these feelings with anyone else. I agreed to seek therapy because I was now convinced I had narcissistic personality disorder, thanks to his girlfriend's opinion of what she heard about me through him. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and our phone bill came out, at which time I was able to view his text logs. He was talking to her every day, including times we were away together for the weekend, spending time at home together. I felt sick, like the world was spinning, and I was in a bad nightmare. I confronted him about it, and he put it all back on me again. He had hidden her number under another name in his phone. I ended up apologizing for all of the hurts he said I was responsible for, though he could provide no specifics and just generally said I have an awful personality. But when I asked for examples, he said I treated the TV like his babysitter. I don't like to watch TV much, so when he would watch for hours on end, I would read or do things on my phone on the couch next to him, instead of watching the TV. He explained that's why he felt the TV was his babysitter. Up until he met her, he had nothing but happy things to say about our relationship and me. No one believes that I was emotionally abusive, except for me and his mistress. He eventually admitted I wasn't, and that he was looking at me through poop-colored glasses. Yet, I still feel responsible, and an insurmountable feeling of guilt. We sought help from our ministers, and he emphatically denied anything physical happened to them and me. I didn't believe it deep down, but didn't have proof, and really didn't want to believe he could do something like this. I was so naive. He started working later shifts. Instead of his shift that normally ended at 1 a.m., he would be off work at 2 or 3 a.m., then come home, and I'd wake up as I'd hear him crack open the closet door to have enough light to shower. He told me he took late shifts so he didn't gave to be around me. I later found a text in his phone asking the scheduler at work to make sure he had shifts with her as often as possible. I was home alone at night, missing him. He was with her all day at work, then going back to her apartment after his late shifts to have his fun, and then coming home to shower and cuddle up next to me saying, "I missed you so much today, babe." Gag. Backstory: 6 months into our marriage, I discovered my father had been carrying on multiple affairs throughout his 32-year marriage to my mother, and that resulted in my parents going through an emotionally exhausting, brutal divorce. My husband was disgusted when my father convinced a new girlfriend he met 6 weeks after my mom told him to leave to buy a house in her neighborhood and move in immediately with her. In fact, my husband became the president of the Anti-My-Father Club. He was disgusted with his behavior and treatment of my mother. Now here he is, repeating my father's disgusting actions. So, fast forward to mid-November. He became increasingly critical of me. He hated everything I wore, complained that none of the perfume I wore, that he bought me, turned him on, etc. He grew a mustache, tried to adopt a vegan diet, but would be agitated with me when I tried to support him with it. He would sit in his underwear in bed, on his days off watching TV, shut down completely. All of our time together felt forced. The former fun relationship we shared was now strained, awkward, distant. I knew in my head what was going on, but my heart wasn't there yet. We went away for the weekend with friends, and he barely wanted to make eye contact with me. When we returned home, he asked me why I was acting weird, and I told him I was struggling with his emotional affair. Of course, it was all my fault. Because I can never let things go, he said. The next morning, he accidentally sent me a text meant for her that he was where they were trying to meet up, and when I called and questioned him about it, he made up some ridiculous story and said he was at home. So I left work and drove home, figuring he'd go back to cover his lie. I got home first. I questioned him about where he was, and he lied over and over again. When I had proof that he wasn't home when he texted, he said, "I've always lied about stupid little things. I've done that since I was a kid. I lie about things that don't even matter. News to me?" I asked if he had done that throughout our relationship. Of course not. That's not what I mean. He ended up leaving me that morning. He said he didn't want to be with me anymore, but if he left, it would be to go live by himself somewhere where no one knows him, never for someone else. He told me he would go sleep at the station. Spoiler alert, he didn't go sleep at the station. He called me 3 days later, begging to work things out. We talked. I asked tons of questions. He lied about all of them. Little did he know, I had spent the past several weeks compiling information, receipts, timelines, GPS locations. I accepted him back because he still denied anything physical, and while I didn't really believe that deep down, I was so confused and happy that he was back and seemed to be himself again. I had negotiated to get him on my health insurance coverage through work not long before, and he swore he'd see the doctor about depression. Instead, he asked for something to help his ongoing issue with erectile dysfunction. We went to a family dinner a couple days after he got back. He was overly affectionate with me, making plans to come cook with my aunt, carrying on like everything was normal with me, putting on a show for my family. I was biding my time, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what I was willing to move past, etc. A few days later, we had plans to go to lunch on his day off. He texted that he didn't feel up to it. I called to check on him, and he said he was going on a quick hike. 2 hours later, he wasn't responding, and I was worried he had hurt himself. I called his parents, who had also been worried about him. I went to the place he said he was hiking, and there was no sign of him. I panicked. I tried calling. He didn't answer. Finally, as I was leaving the ranger station, he texted, "I'm safe." He wouldn't tell me where he was. After pleading with him, he finally called me and said he had written me an email that he was planning to send later in the day that explained everything, but he would go ahead and send it now. I knew for certain, then and finally, had my answers. I was crushed. It's a pain unlike anything I've ever felt. And yet, I felt relief to finally have confirmation from him that my suspicions were true, and I wasn't the crazy woman he was making me feel like. I then called and let his parents know he was safe and that he had left me again. The email said he had cheated on me, twice, and I was the best thing that ever happened to him, and he ruined it. He asked that I not come look for him because he couldn't bear to see the disappointment in my face. He said he hated himself for what he'd done to me. I went home and put all of his clothes into bags. I changed the locks and secured finances. He immediately started texting her, nearly 2,000 texts over 3 days. About a week later, he agreed to meet at a restaurant to talk, and with a flat, cold voice, told me he wanted a divorce and finally felt free. He offered to pay half of our bills for a while and said his plan was to rent a room, save up some money, and move away somewhere. He hadn't decided where yet. He didn't sound remorseful and didn't act like he cared one iota about my feelings. He looked at me like he hated my guts. I felt like I was looking at a completely different person, a stranger. The guy I know and love cries at sappy movies and the sight of cute old couples. This guy was callous, angry, and spiteful. He moved in almost immediately into his paramour's apartment and hasn't responded to his family or friends since. I had to file the divorce paperwork because he refused to do it. Then I had to bait him out of hiding with the promise of giving him his clothes, which he hadn't bothered to ask for, so I could have him served with divorce papers. He didn't say a word to me. He missed the filing deadline. He hasn't given me a single dime to help with bills, and I'm left with a house payment, 2 horses, 3 dogs, and can't pay for the house alone. I ran into them at lunch yesterday and had the opportunity to ask him in person if he would cooperate with the divorce paperwork so we can get it behind us. I didn't cuss, raise my voice, or cause a scene, even though I wanted to tear into him. But instead, I asked him if he could carve out some time in his schedule to call his mother, who's in tears that she hasn't heard from him, or maybe his niece, who's devastated that he left me, his family, and his faith. All he could be bothered with when I asked these questions was a disdainful, "Yeah, sure." He had a smug smile on his face the whole team, almost like he was proud of himself, and no emotion registered on his face when I mentioned his family. So unlike the man I married who tears up talking about missing his family, I know it's pointless to even try to understand the logic behind his affair partner's behavior, but I still find myself trying to understand how someone could so flippantly participate in something so awful that would break up a marriage. And she knew he was married. They followed each other on Instagram, and he posted pictures of us together. But who knows what lies he told her about me, since he was lying to me about her. These people don't think logically or with any integrity or heart. It's all about them and what they want in the moment. No regard for others. I should add that he is in his 40s, she's in her 20s. He likes to be in bed by 9 p.m. She dresses in tutus and stick-on facial rhinestones to go to raves and 3-day-long dance festivals. He hates to dance. They have so little in common, and their relationship is built on a foundation of lust and deceit. Selfishly, I can't wait for it to implode and burst his fantasy bubble. Yet I also dread that day because I know he hasn't hit rock bottom yet, and I fear for him when he does. So, here I am. In spite of all of this, I still feel responsible somehow. We went through infertility a few years back, and that devastated me. Him too, I thought. I worry that I somehow pushed him away. I don't feel that I did, and he always said those hard times brought us closer. But I'm trying to see things from his perspective too, and I'm dissecting everything that's gone in our marriage to try to wrap my head around this nightmare. I'm on a roller coaster of emotions and can sometimes feel optimistic about my future, and thankful that I don't have to endure life with him if he is going to choose to behave so awfully. But most of the time, I'm just lost, heartbroken, shattered, scared for my future, and about to have to rehome our dogs because I can't find a place to live that will accept them. And I miss my husband, the him he used to be. I don't know why I'm here really, other than to seek perspective from others who have experienced similar circumstances, and a little embarrassed that I typed so much. I truly felt I had an awesome husband in marriage and had finally found the love of my life. He always said he felt the same. How does this happen? He's abandoned not only me, but his family, friends, home, pets, and his faith. I'm baffled that someone I thought I knew so well had it in him to do this.